Thank you, Chairman. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for your testimonies. Mr. Adams, in 1991, you pleaded guilty to 2 counts of withholding information from Congress regarding your involvement in the Iran-Contra affair, for which you were later pardoned by President George H.W. Bush. I fail to understand why members of this committee or the American people should find any testimony that you give today to be truthful.
If I can respond to that.
It wasn't a question.
That
was not a question. I reserve the right to my time.
It is not right.
That was not a question.
Committee can attack
on February 8th,
who is not permitted to reply.
That was not a question. Thank you for your participation. On February 8th, 1982, you testified before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee about U.S. policy in El Salvador. In that hearing, you dismissed as communist propaganda report about the massacre of El Mozote, in which more than 800 civilians, including children as young as 2 years old, were brutally murdered by U.S.-trained troops. During that massacre, some of those troops bragged about raping a 12-year-old girl before they killed them. Girls before they killed them. You later said that the U.S. policy in El Salvador was a fabulous achievement. Yes or no, do you still think so?
From the day that President Duarte was elected in a free election to this day, El Salvador has been a democracy. That's a fabulous achievement.
Yes or no, do you think that massacre was a fabulous achievement that happened under our watch?
That is a ridiculous question, and I
yes or no?
No.
I will take that as a yes.
I am not going to respond to that kind of personal attack, which is not a question.
Yes or no, would you support an armed faction within Venezuela that engages in war crimes, crimes against humanity or genocide, if you believe they were serving U.S. interest, as you did in Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua?
I am not going to respond to that question. I'm sorry. I don't think this entire line of questioning is meant to be real questions, and so I will not reply.
Whether under your watch, a genocide will take place, and you will look the other way because American interests were being upheld, is a fair question, because the American people want to know that anytime we engage a country, that we think about what our actions could be and how we believe our values are being furthered. That is my question. Will you make sure that human rights are not violated and that we uphold international and human rights?
I suppose there is a question in there, and the answer is that the entire thrust of American policy in Venezuela is to support the Venezuelan people's effort to restore democracy to their country. That's our policy.
I don't think anybody disputes that. The question I had for you is that does the interest of the United States include protecting human rights and include protecting people against genocide?
That is always the position of the United States.
Thank you. I yield.
A refugee who survived the horrors of a civil war, someone who spent her childhood in a refugee camp, someone who knows what it means to have a shot at a better life here in the United States, and someone who believes in the American dream and the American possibility and the promise and the ability to participate in the democratic process. That is what this debate is about. There is an idea out there that I do not have objective decision-making because of who I am, where I come from, and my perspective. But I reject that. We say there is nothing objective about policymaking. We all inject our perspective, our point of views, our lived experiences, and the voices of our constituents. That's what democracy is about. So what is the work of the Foreign Affairs Committee? It is not to co-sign the stated foreign policy of whatever administration is in power. It's about oversight. It's to critique and to advocate for a better path forward. But most importantly, it is to make the myth that American foreign policy is intrinsically moral a reality. So I will continue to speak up because representation matters. I will continue to speak up for little kids who wonder who's speaking up for them. I will continue to speak up for families around the world who are seeking justice, whether they are displaced in refugee camps or they are hiding under their beds somewhere like I was, waiting for the bullets to stop. Because this child, survivor of war, would have wanted that. The 9-year-old me would be disappointed if I didn't talk about the victims of conflict, those that are experiencing unjust wars, atrocities, ethnic cleansing, occupation, or displacement like I did. They are looking to the international community and the United States, asking for help. They look to us because the international community and the United States profess the values of protecting human rights and upholding international law. So we owe it to them not to make this a myth, but a reality. I didn't come to Congress to be silent. I came to Congress to be their voice. And my leadership and voice will not be diminished if I am not on this committee for one term. My voice will get louder and stronger, and my leadership will be celebrated around the world as it has been. So take your vote or not. I am here to stay, and I am here to be a voice.
Resolution to remove Representative Omar from serving on the Committee on Foreign Affairs. Today's resolution, as it relates to Representative Omar, details 6 statements she made as a sitting member of Congress that under the totality of the circumstances disqualify her from serving on the Committee on Foreign Affairs. It is important to note that this resolution is very narrowly tailored and does not prevent Representative Omar from serving on other committees. House Resolution 76 instead simply states that she cannot serve on a committee that receives classified briefings and is responsible for maintaining international diplomacy. The Committee on Foreign Affairs is a prestigious committee viewed by nations around the world, both allies and adversaries, as speaking for Congress on matters of international importance and national security. All members, both Republican and Democrats alike, who seek to serve on foreign affairs should be held to the highest standard of conduct due to the international sensitivity and national security concerns under the jurisdiction of this committee. Based upon the important mission of this committee and the precedent previously set to remove members from their committee assignments, I support this resolution today. Mr. Speaker, I reserve the balance of my time.
Welcome to today's episode. Before we begin, we want to make one thing very clear. We are not here to tell you who to vote for. We are not here to tell you what political party to join. We are not here to demonize entire communities. We are here for one purpose: to bring light into places where there has been darkness and confusion. Our goal is to examine public officials with facts, receipts, and clear information, so you, the listener, can make informed decisions based on truth, not emotion, not rumors, and not identity politics. Today's episode focuses on Representative Ilhan Omar, but this is not a hit piece. This is not propaganda. This is a public analysis of a government official whose work, decisions, and controversies affect American communities, including Black Americans. We're talking about the factual claims and investigations relating to Ilhan Omar, her legislative record and political priorities. The question of representation. Does someone who looks like us always work for us? How these dynamics affect Black Americans, especially foundational Black Americans, right here at home. Again, we do not tell people how to vote. We tell people the truth, and they choose what to do with it. Let's get started. Representative Ilhan Omar was born in Somalia, fled the Civil War as a child, and eventually settled in Minnesota with her family as refugees. She was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in 2018, representing Minnesota's 5th Congressional District, the Minneapolis area. Her political identity is rooted in progressive politics, strong support for immigrant and refugee rights, criminal justice reform, aggressive foreign policy critiques, advocacy for global humanitarian relief, strong positions on international conflicts. She is part of the group known as the Squad, a small group of progressive Democratic members of Congress. Again, we are simply describing the public biography of a public official. Now, let's move into what has actually been claimed, proven, debunked, or documented about her record. This segment is important because many people hear things online that are unverified or exaggerated. We want to separate verified facts, official reports, and public record events from rumors or misinformation. Let's go over the Minnesota campaign finance violations. This is alleged to be factual and verified. Before Omar entered Congress, she served as a Minnesota state legislator. During that time, she was investigated by the Minnesota Campaign Finance Board. Here are the official findings. She improperly used about $3,400 in campaign funds. These funds covered travel and personal expenses not allowed by law. She was ordered to repay the money. She was also fined $500. This is a documented, verified, officially investigated violation. She complied with the repayment and the fine. That is the factual record. Regarding the federal campaign finance issues, these allegations allegedly have not been proven. Once in Congress, Ilhan Omar's campaign sent significant payments to a consulting firm owned by her spouse. This raised ethical concerns publicly and politically. However, here are the facts. The FEC received complaints. The FEC investigated and closed the case. They concluded there was no evidence of a federal law violation. Important note, some people may still feel it looks bad, but looking bad is not the same as illegal. Legally, the FEC found no wrongdoing. That is the factual record. What about the sending money overseas claims, common misunderstanding? There is a narrative online that Ilhan Omar is personally sending money to Somalia, Haiti, or African countries. Here are the facts. Individual members of Congress do not have authority to personally direct foreign aid, but they can help foreign aid flow through government agencies such as the State Department, USAID, and congressional committees. Omar can vote on foreign aid packages, but so can all members of Congress, and most do for their interest. Does this mean that their interests align with the people in their district, state, and this country? Are questions we should ask. Is Omar's advocacy on domestic issues affecting Black Americans the same as issues affecting Negro Americans? Ilhan Omar does have a public record on domestic American issues. She has pushed legislation or policy proposals involving student debt cancellation, police reform, eliminating qualified immunity, affordable housing, poverty reduction, workers' rights, and Minneapolis community investments. Black Americans not born in America may feel these issues help them. Negro Americans may feel these policies don't address the specific needs of foundational Black Americans. Both views exist. Our goal is to simply inform listeners of what her actual record shows. Here is where we get into the deeper issue, an issue many Black Americans talk about privately, but rarely gets discussed publicly. Does looking like us automatically equal representing us. Many foundational Black Americans feel that the political system recruits Black immigrants, people of color, first-generation or refugee background candidates, and then places them in seats where the community assumes shared experience. The politician does not actually prioritize Black foundational issues. The district continues to face poverty, violence, displacement, and neglect. The representative focuses heavily on foreign or global affairs. We are not attacking immigrants. We are pointing out a political dynamic that Black Americans have the right to analyze. Representation is more than melanin. Representation is policy, investment, and protection. If you are elected by Black people, you owe accountability to Black people. Some Black Americans feel African immigrant politicians have made dismissive or condescending remarks about foundational Black American culture and struggle. At the same time, immigrant communities face racism and Islamophobia, so the tension goes both ways. This is a real, complex conversation. The key message is, identity is not loyalty. Ethnicity is not accountability. Skin color is not service. Let's talk about impact, not emotions. Here are 3 practical areas where political misalignment hurts Black communities. Number 1, economic investment. If an elected official prioritizes foreign policies over local reinvestment, communities feel it as no jobs, no small business support, no capital access, no revitalization of neglected neighborhoods. Black communities cannot thrive on symbolic representation. They need material results. Number 2, housing and displacement. If political leaders fail to fight predatory development, the results hit fast. Rising rent, gentrification, loss of cultural spaces, elders being priced out of their homes. This is not about Ilhan Omar only. This is about a pattern seen across major cities. Number 3, safety and justice. If politicians focus heavily on big national narratives but ignore local violence, the community suffers. Lack of violence prevention programs, inconsistent police accountability, underfunded youth programs, courts that don't work for the people. Representation has to be more than sound bites.
Because what's taking place between that, if you look at Somalia, they're taking over Minnesota, and we got a lot of problems with the gangs, with all of the things taking place in Minnesota. We have an incompetent governor, we have a dope governor. They can't be happy about what's going on. And if you talk about the Afghans, there's a problem because so many bad ones came in on the planes. They just walked in. Whoever the strongest people were physically in a way, but whoever the strongest, they got on the planes. There was no checking. They just swamped the planes. They took off. We had no idea who they were. Yeah, do you want to ask a question behind?
This is where we give tools, not
for a lot of money. There's a tremendous amount of money going back to Somalia. What the hell are we paying money to Somalia for? But they're ripping off our country at a level that few people have been able to see before. That's about the only thing. You talk about competence. We have Ilhan Omar, who does nothing but complain about our country and our Constitution. And she comes from a country with practically no country. It's devastated, it's crime-ridden, it's a mess, it's a disgrace. And we took their people at a tremendous... We're not taking their people anymore. We're not taking their people. And we're getting a lot of their people out because they're nothing but trouble.
Ilhan Omar, after his assassination, called Charlie a reprehensible human being. Should she be stripped of her community assignments?
I would say, I think she's a disgraceful person. I think she's a disgraceful person, a loser. It's amazing the way people vote. I know it's
anti-crime initiative in American history. I mean, just think about it for a second. I think what's happening here is that what the president has done is made clear. The power of federal law enforcement that was used for the last 4 years to harass and attack conservatives, to harass and attack Christians, to go after law-abiding families. The power of law enforcement under President Trump is going to be used to get all the criminals, all the violent offenders, all the murderers, all the cartels, and all the domestic terrorists off our streets. So whether you're Antifa, whether you're a domestic terrorist, whether you are a violent gang member, a drug trafficker, a trained Nicaragua killer or anyone else that's threatening our people, President Trump is saying he's going to use his FBI, his DOD, his ATF, his DEA to wipe you out, to put you behind bars, to take you off the street, or to apply whatever legal consequences necessary. Mr. President, I'm honored.
Really a sad day in America. We are witnessing a constitutional crisis. We talked about Trump wanting to be a dictator on day one, and here we are. This is what the beginning of dictatorship looks like. When you gut the Constitution and you install yourself as the sole power, that is how dictators are made. What Trump and Elon and all of their cronies are trying to do is take away the constitutional power of Congress. We get to decide. We have the power of the purse. We get to decide where money is allocated, and it's the executive's power to make sure that that money gets to where it needs to get. Civil servants being let go. What we are talking about is not saving money. It's essentially saying they can get paid while they're home and their work doesn't get done on behalf of the American people. Right. It is us, taxpayers, who are being ripped off. It is us, taxpayers, who are not getting the resources that we paid into. So I ask the American people, do you want people at home and getting a paycheck and not providing services to you? The answer is no. Do you want the executive making the only decisions in this country, or do you want the elected representatives that you send to Washington making those policies? I am exceptionally upset about U.S. aid. I lived in a refugee camp for 4 years as a child surviving civil war. It is the essential programs that U.S. aid provided that kept my family and I fed and safe. It is the resources that so many people around the world rely on. And it is our soft power. Oftentimes, people interact with our country through the military. That does not create love for us, and it certainly does not keep us safe. When the world interacts with Americans through programs that provide essential need, they get to see the heart and compassion of the American people. That's right. Yes. Come on now. When someone is struggling because their bridge broke down, when U.S. aid comes in and helps fix that bridge, that creates goodwill for the American people. Yes, yes. When people are dying of malaria and there is medication through U.S. aid, that creates goodwill for the American people. When people are fleeing and they need just a little bit of food and U.S. aid is there to provide that, that creates goodwill for the American people. Privileged billionaires who don't give a damn about America and Americans should not be making decisions that put Americans at harm. Yes. And a billionaire that hasn't been vetted, has not gone through confirmation, has not been elected by the American people, who we still do not understand what in the world he's doing, should not be telling American employees that they cannot access the building they work at. That's right. What kind of country is this man turning our country into? What kind of country are we becoming? It is embarrassing to read the headlines about free America, where one man is walking around like he is the boss of all of us, and we don't know who put him in charge.
In Minnesota found money intended for social services has been allegedly siphoned indirectly into the pockets of the Somali terrorist group al-Shabaab. Somali immigrants in Minnesota have reportedly been abusing systems meant to help the most unfortunate among us, including the latest federally funded autism services. The autism fraud scheme reportedly amassed $14 million through Medicare claims for services that were never provided, involving kids who never had autism. And the Somali immigrants behind this web of schemes have allegedly stolen billions from taxpayers, much of the money going back to the Somali government, where it would then end up in the hands of terrorists. Manhattan's funder of al-Shabaab is the Minnesota taxpayer, and you cite an unnamed source for that. What is the evidence that all of this money that was taken and the billions upon billions of increased funding in Minnesota for social services ended up in Somalia?
Well, billions of dollars of government welfare money is missing in the state of Minnesota.
How do we define missing?
Well, the fraud is so bad that the U.S. Attorney's Office has come out and indicated that they believe their entire government programs, where the fraudulent claims outstrip the legitimate ones. There are cases where indictments have come down, or guilty pleas are already in to the tunes of hundreds of millions of dollars that were fraudulently obtained, filing false claims alongside doctored paperwork. And the indictments are continuing to come. And the U.S. Attorney's Office has made very clear that this is a network of fraud schemes stacked upon fraud schemes, and that while the true dollar figure in terms of stolen funds at this point isn't quite clear, it's safe to say that we're talking about billions of dollars.
Chair, one group called Feeding the Future that went from getting $3.4 million in 2019 to $200 million 2 years later. They grew faster than NVIDIA. How did nobody see that? Or is it that people and the government and those who are supposed to be the watchdogs, like Tim Walz, like Keith Ellison, the Attorney General, there just weren't looking?
I think it's safe to say that there was a real unwillingness or inability among Democratic state officials in Minnesota to recognize some pretty obvious alarm bells here. All across these programs, claims were skyrocketing, absolutely spiraling out of control over a short period of time. And the reality is that the Somali community, which is where these large-scale fraud rings have been concentrated within this population in the state, it is a sizable voting bloc. It is a voting bloc you have to win if you're going to win political office in Minneapolis. And so I think that was likely an incentive here that made some people not want to look too closely at what's been going on.
Speak to what Trump has tweeted and what it means for those of us who call this incredible state home. Because facts matter and facts are important. It is unfortunate that we are led by a president who does not understand the laws of this land. When the president tweets as if he has the authority to terminate temporary protected status for Somalis in Minnesota, even little kids in 8th grade know that that is not an authority that the president has and can wield. Status protection for Somalis expires March of 2026, and anyone with that status has 60 days after for it to have any impact on them. And so if you are confused, if you feel threatened, know that the law is on your side and our demented president can't do anything about it. The other unlawful thing that our lawless president is claiming to do so is to terminate that status for only one state, which he has no authority to do so. So, for the 300 or so people that are impacted, that currently live in Minnesota and across the country, we see you and we stand with you, and we will make sure we do everything that we can to help make sure that your status is adjusted before March of 2026. Because you know and I know that there is nothing temporary about people's lives here in the United States. Many of these people that we are talking about have built lives. They own homes, they own businesses, they are a vibrant part of our communities. And we want to make sure that their new home stays their forever home. The second thing I want to speak to is that in this country, we do not blame the lawlessness of an individual on a whole community. Because if you believe in law and order, you understand that if a person commits a crime, they face justice. And that you don't put that crime on a whole community. What we also know is that there is not a single evidence that the president or his cronies have put forth that there are any single resource from taxpayers in Minnesota that has gone to aid and abet terrorism. That language is dangerous. That language puts the lives of Somalis, not only in Minnesota, but across the country, in danger. And if the president believed that, and he had evidence, he would take people to court. So we are sick and tired of the president waking up one day and deciding to put forth falsehoods and demonize whole communities, while the ignorant people that support him then take the lies that he's spreading and use it as a fact. We've seen it during the campaign where he said Asians were eating cats and dogs. We've seen his vice president repeat those lies. We've seen the media run it as a headline as if it was a fact. That is shameful. That is shameful. That is ignorant. It makes us look like a stupid nation that does not believe in truth, but traffics in lies. It makes the world mock us, and we are better than that. We are better than that as Americans. Somalis are not terrorizing this nation. We are helping it thrive. Somalis have always seen themselves as a fabric of this nation. We have signed up to serve this country in its military. We have signed up to teach children. We have signed up to become nurses and doctors and engineers. We have signed up to be public servants and get elected into office. We don't do that because we hate this nation. We do that because we love this nation.
Crazy statistics just in Minnesota, not anywhere in the world. I can just imagine a statistic in the world. Just within the metro area of Minnesota, there's about 30,000 single Somali mothers, single mothers, which is a ridiculous number.
A lot of you man will think this is a true statistic, but it's not a real statistic because the single mothers that's registered in the government, they're not actually single mother. This is spousal support, man. Like, this is a hustle to get benefits. You understand?
This kind of thing is
payers earmarked to feed hungry children wind up in the hands of a Somali terrorist group. The allegations center around a massive welfare fraud case being brought in Minnesota. A 78th defendant was charged just today. And now reports are coming out that some of the stolen money may have wound up in the hands of al-Shabaab, a Somali-based terror group. In response, President Trump says he intends to end deportation protections for about 700 Somali nationals in Minnesota, calling Minnesota a, quote, hub for Somali gang networks, though he's provided no evidence for that. So what are the facts on the ground? Investigative correspondent Rich McHugh is at the federal courthouse in Minneapolis, Minnesota for us tonight. Rich, what are you learning?
Hi, Elizabeth. Well, we're at the federal courthouse where that 78th indictment came down just a few hours ago. All of it tied to Feeding Our Future. That's the corrupt nonprofit at the center of all of this fraud. We spoke with current and former federal sources, and they tell us billions have been stolen since 2019, that Minnesota is just riddled with fraud, and that a lot of this money goes back to Somalia, and a cut of all that money has gone to the al-Qaeda-linked terror group al-Shabaab. But I want to reset this for viewers because it's complicated. This all stems from Feeding Our Future. That's the largest COVID fraud ever. These criminals opened more than 200 federal child nutrition program sites throughout Minnesota, and sites lied, claimed to be serving meals to thousands of children a day. They created fake attendance rosters, fake invoices, and the government reimbursed them. David Gaither, he's a former state senator here. He saw this firsthand.
This is where we give tools, not instructions. Here is the rep report card. We want material deliverables. What funding have they brought home? What bills have they introduced for your community? Responsiveness. Do they hold town halls? Do they answer local media or Black organizations? Their priorities. Are they more active in foreign issues than domestic ones? Do their priorities align with yours? Look at coalitions. Who do they listen to? Who funds them? Their respect and cultural alignment. Do they respect foundational Black American history and struggle? Do they treat Black Americans as a political base or as an afterthought? This is the Second to None podcast. Thank you for listening to today's episode. We looked at the facts. We looked at the official records. We looked at the controversies, the policy focus, and the impact on Black Americans. We're not saying Ilhan Omar is uniquely corrupt or not. We're not saying she is uniquely harmful or not. We are saying she is one example of a larger political pattern. Black people who look like us being elevated into power while our communities at home remain underserved. Our mission is simple. Bring light to the dark corners. Expose contradictions, give our people the information they deserve. No instructions, no orders, no political coercion, just truth. This episode is brought to you by theysource.com, your trusted source for premium sea moss and natural herbal wellness products. Theysource.com is dedicated to helping you take control of your health with clean, high-quality, naturally sourced ingredients. From gold sea moss and elderberry to detox teas, immunity blends, herbal supplements, and mineral-rich wellness formulas, TheySource provides products designed to support energy, digestion, immunity, and everyday vitality. Everything is crafted with care, tested for quality, and created to help you live a healthier, more balanced life, naturally. To explore the full product line or place your order, visit theysource.com or reach their support team at 210-899-2985. If what you heard today challenged you, share this episode with someone who still believes representation is only skin deep. Remember, stay alert, stay alive, stay second to none.